Recording. Yep. Hi everyone, welcome back to Win More TV, and here we are. The new season is upon us. The Masters is on the horizon, and of course we're joined by the ever-present Paul Nicholson and Mark Webster. Gentlemen, recovered from the Worlds?
I'll let you go first.
I really enjoyed it. I think it was a great tournament. I think the way that the PDC handled it was fabulous, considering the lack of fans and obviously the sort of lack of atmosphere as well, which some of the players touched upon. But ultimately, we had one of the best World Championships we've ever seen, with I think it was 16 matches that went to a last leg decider, and I can guarantee you that'll never happen again.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well. I thought it was a brilliant competition. I think there was so many setbacks the PDC had. That, the crowd being pulled after one night, but then the rejig of the arena I thought was fantastic. I think the players played their part, didn't they? Every single one of them. And great event. And a story as well. We got a new champion and new world number one. And it's getting competitive at the top end of that as well, just a little bit.
Yeah, before we come on to the Masters, we'll touch on that. Obviously, Gerwyn Price, the new world champion, the new world number one. Is the target now on his back absolutely huge, Mark?
Well, yeah, it should be as well. He's the world champion. He's the world number one. I mean, who else do you shoot at? Who do you aspire to be? He's earned it, and now the players have seen what can be done. But with hard work, Gerwyn Price works really hard, and he's going to be a good world champion. I feel it already. I thought he looked good on did a bit of media on Sky Sports and Soccer AM this week. He looked the part, and he's a confident guy, and I think he's going to be a good world champion. It's going to be some good rivalries when things get up and running. Obviously, the Masters and then other events as well. But no, it's going to be interesting to see how he handles it. But I think he'll do all right.
Paul, for you, we'll touch on Michael losing his number one spot. I was looking back through the archives like we do. From 2012, when Michael was chasing people, and I say that he was chasing Raymond van Barneveld to be Dutch number one. Then he wanted to get to Phil Taylor, got to him, got to world number one. Then he had a rivalry with Gary Anderson. Then he was at his best. The last few years, that rivalry with anyone hasn't been there. Now he's chasing Gerwyn Price at the top. Do you think that will spur him on and almost reinvent him?
I don't think they'll reinvent him as such, but I think if you look at, say, Phil Taylor in the prime of his career, he lost the number one spot in the world many times to the likes of Peter Manley and Colin Lloyd, and he always had that refresher of having to be the chaser instead of the chased. So to answer your question, I think Michael is going to feel very ready for this season and have an almost refreshed attitude of, I want something back. Now, he wanted his world title back, and it took a lifetime performance from Dave Chisnell to eliminate that hope. But I get the feeling that being number two in the world doesn't sit well with Michael, and I think we'll see big things from him in 2021.
The Masters is upon us. It's a new, fresh-looking Masters, but for more than one reason, the most important Masters I think we've ever had, guys. 24 players now, and the carrot of there is still one Premier League place up for grabs. Added pressure on the chasing pack as well.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, the three names at the front of it, you'd say, if you had to pick it now, I'd probably be inclined to put Dave in or James. I'd rule Michael Smith out, but they're the three names that are propping up. I don't see if someone comes from left field and wins it, will go in. I think it's up to one of them three to sort of do what they've got to do. But it's a good position to be in. I think the PDC had that luxury, obviously the Premier League starting late. So don't rush into a decision. We've seen it happen before. You can put a player in and gets whipped every week who's not ready. But sorry, I couldn't help but laugh. I think it's a good move. Keep the players playing, and the Masters is a high pressure event because I don't know what's on next. So the guys have got to pull out all the stops in an event. They don't know when they're playing again. So go there and give it everything, and see what comes of it.
Paul, for you though, with this Premier League carrot, I might be wrong with this, but for me, looking in, what they've done by not picking the 10th and adding to the Masters field, it says to me they're not completely happy with the people that are in consideration, that they're opening the door for someone else, potentially. And I say that, and I don't mean this horribly, because he's a fabulous player, but what Mark said there, James Wade's world number 7 and got to 2 TV finals. surely if you were going to pick him, that is ample opportunity enough to have staked your claim.
I see your point, but I see it from a very different angle. And the angle is to keep the media guessing, which creates more clicks, more likes, more retweets. They understand the concept of the 21st century and social media. So what they're doing without any action is keeping interest going. I think that's what it's all about. They could easily pick James Wade, easily pick Dave Chisnell because he made the semi-final. When was the last time a semi-finalist who wasn't automatically in the Premier League wasn't selected? A long time ago, if ever. So I think it was probably Ella Klassen actually on the one occasion he made the semi-finals and lost to Anderson 6-0. But for me, I just think it's dangling the carrot to other potentials. You know, there are people who still have a chance, in my opinion. Maybe Mark disagrees with the likes of Ratajski and Daryl Gurney, but if they win it, then they will be knocking on the door. Whether they're selected is a different matter. But I do agree with Mark when it comes to Chisnell, Wade, and possibly Michael Smith, that a win at the Masters does make them very much the one to be picked. But I think the whole concept of the unknown 10th was to just keep people guessing and give people that little bit of hope before the door is closed.
Last one in the Premier League. If the semi-final lineup is, for argument's sake, the top 4 in the world as expected, and all of the contenders don't have a particularly good Masters, does that bring into play Dirk van Dijvenbode? Because he's the name on everyone's list. That he's just got into the top 32 in the world, but on the 1-year order of merit, he was 10. He got to a TV final and 3 other quarterfinals. So if the others don't have a good Masters, does that bring Dirk into contention?
Not for me, no. I don't think it's Dirk's time yet. He's done it for 1 year. He's done it really well for 1 year, but I think there's people more deserving. And hey, don't get me wrong. I'd love to see him walking out to that tune in a packed La Jolla Arena, but yeah, not for Dirk yet. But hey, he's gonna be. He keeps performing like that. He'll be putting himself in the position, not far off automatically. But no, for me, I don't see how Dirk can go in. He can't impact the Masters, like you said, Phil. And yeah, I expect one of them 3. Or like Paul said, Paul with his opinion probably changed my mind a little. If someone like a Daryl Gurney, Ratajski, a Cullen wins it, then you can't overlook him. But yeah, it'll be an interesting one either way. And like Paul said, it keeps people guessing. It's good, isn't it?
100%. Right, looking at the 2021 Masters, we have a first round draw that doesn't consist of the big boys because of the new seedings and everything like that. The top 8 in the world come in afterwards. So let's run you through some of these first round games, guys, because there is some absolute belters. First one, right at the top, Stephen Bunting against Joe Cullen. 2 players that had a phenomenal World Championship. And both of these 2 could do some huge damage in this tournament. To draw each other in the first round, it's going to be heartbreak for one, but absolute ecstasy for the other.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Joe knows the thing about heartbreak right now, considering that match at the Worlds with Michael van Gerwen. But I think you couldn't really have paired these 2 better in a first round match at the Masters, because Cullen was absolutely astonishing in that tournament for me. I think he looked as good at Ali Pali as he ever has. But Bunting was refreshed. He had an amount of belief in tough spots in that campaign that I haven't seen in him for a very, very long time. This could be a very, very classic Masters match. It's just a shame it's a first round match, really. But when you look at who was waiting in the wings, I mean, it can't really get any better with the world champion waiting. So as far as a section is concerned for this new structure of the Masters, it doesn't get any better than that.
Mark, obviously you're quite close to Joe, a very good friend. Did he come of age at the World Championships?
Yeah, he did. A funny story, actually. He was texting me when Bunting was 3-1 up in the semi. He goes, I could do without this lad. I'll be knocked out the Masters. Well, he's playing him because that was that time before it was 16. But yeah, he did. He let that. It was a big opportunity slip. It was some game of the tournament, wasn't it? But to finally win there, I think win a couple of games. I think that will now change the approach, going there every year now. So that's settled. And yeah, this is a good game. But it'll be interesting how these 2 fare, because playing well at the Ali Pali is one thing, but continuing it in a tournament that's not as hyped, but still a massively important tournament, a tough tournament as well. Be interesting to see how these 2 fare up, and they know that Gavin Price is next, but not someone they'll fear, someone they'll want to crack at. So, and they'll be the first ones. So it's a good little tonic for the winner.
Second game, Dan. Two players that are in need of a victory for their careers to stop the slides they're on. Michael Smith against Adrian Lewis, both disappointing results at the World Championship, but all on the line here. Adrian Lewis cannot afford another year like he had last year, down to 24 in the world, unheard of for jackpot. Mark, where do you see this one going, and how do you stop these slides that the two players are on at the moment?
I don't know, Phil. So I lost my talk card. No, it's Adrian. I've been saying for ages, it's too good to be lingering down there, but it's going on too long now. And I don't know if there's other things going on, because Adrian Lewis, when he's on form, box office, I've always said it. I love watching him play, and I really want him to start doing well again. And Michael Smith, who we tipped to be the next Adrian Lewis, there is similarities there, isn't there? But they're both great lads, both great players, both show a lot of emotion. But yeah, it's an important game. Adrian Lewis trying to revive his career. Michael Smith trying to win an event he should have won last year. And obviously in the back of his mind as well, the Premier League's going to be playing a big part. That adds pressure. And it's a massive game for so many different reasons. And easy on the eye as well. Both great throwers. And it'd be interesting to see how both players deal with the different pressures.
Paul, how do you see this one going for both players? And like you say, their careers are dangling at the moment.
It's difficult to call. Michael, it's really, really tough to know where his head is at after losing to Jason Lowe during the World Championship, because I think the post-match interview of Jason was very telling. And I think a lot of players in the same sort of age bracket as Michael Smith can take a lot from what Jason said. You can have a very seasoned player find weakness without actually you throwing a dart. It's what you project to your opponent. I think it's something that Michael Smith has to crack. I think his projection of anguish at certain points in that match have shown that maybe he isn't as confident as he has been at different times in his career. And I think that both of them could benefit from possibly speaking to someone and offloading their thoughts and trying to find what is wrong. With Michael Smith, I feel that is the issue. I think he just needs to talk things out and possibly have a bit more steel in front of his opponent and not give off as much weakness. But as far as Adrian Lewis is concerned, I'm with Mark. I don't know what's going on. I've seen him play at certain points in 2020. I thought, he looks great, especially during the Winter Series. There were some proper matches. And then you go to the Worlds and he just looks a shell of the human being he was before. I'd like to know what's wrong with him, because I too want to see Adrian rebound. But this is a very interesting match, very similar to the first one, where both are flying, playing fantastically well. But these two right now, obviously with all due respect to their talent and their standing, but I just don't know where this one's going to be. And with Adrian, he can count himself very fortunate to be in the tournament at number 24.
Third game down, windmill player Mervyn King on a resurgence against the reigning Premier League champion Glenn Durrant. And ever since Merv has switched to the beautiful darts that Lee designed, it's just the form has been on a complete upturn, and it's the famous Mervyn King A game, as he refers to. We're seeing glimpses of it on the big stage now.
Yeah, I did his game against the Sousa, and I was thinking, he won't keep this, he won't keep this. But my God, did he? And it was good to see Merv playing like that. And he talked in his interview as well. He's going back for a few days' work, and I think good on him. I mean, Merv's keen practicer, but there's only so much you can chuck at a ball. Just having something to occupy your mind. And I know Merv likes getting out in the car and driving around. It's probably a job he enjoys rather than a job. So no, I've been well impressed with Merv. And I think he'll win this game. And Glenn's showed glimpses of it in the Worlds, but quite a generous draw opened up for him to get as far as he did. But I like Merv. And like you said, those darts are beautiful, aren't they? And I like his action. And I think he'll have a good competition, Mervyn King.
Paul, you're very close to Merv on the golf course and everything like that. Have you ever seen him play this well in recent times, what we've seen recently?
Only in small spells. For instance, when he won his last Pro Tour event on the floor, he was tremendous, averaging 105 in the final. And you just get the feeling that a couple of things have come together. They fishtailed at the right point, or dovetailed, not fishtailed. But the darts themselves, I know how much he really, really likes them. The extra grip that he's got in every single scallop, he's got more control. You can just tell with the way he's throwing the darts. his release has become more deliberate, and he's almost artistically pausing like Darius Labanauskas, which is something he used to do. But at the same time as having a new piece of equipment that he's that comfortable with, he's also got this thing that Mark mentioned of being able to take his mind off the pressures of being a pro dart player on something as simple as delivering parcels. And I think Mark can testify to this because he still did a bit of work when he was playing at the very top level. That is giving you the ability to switch your mind off from the pressures of darts and can release some of that pressure that's on your shoulders. And I don't see Merv stopping that in the time that he's playing well. It seems to work.
And he's in a nice part of the draw. And I mean that with all due respect, because they're obviously all fabulous players, but he doesn't run into a Michael van Gogh and a Peter Wright or a Geraint Price until the semi-finals, potentially. Could the King force his way to another final?
Oh, I'll tell you what, if he does, then that's a real headache. I don't know how Mark feels about this, but Mervyn's made a Masters final before where he had his own heartbreak there. But if he can make the final, then the PDC might have to think for at least 10 minutes about whether it's worth giving Merv another shot. I don't know how you feel about that, Mark.
I think he's probably got to win it. But he is a sensational form, and I agree with Phill as well. I mean, Rob Cross awaits in the next round, and, Rob Cross is in different form. He's got a massive year ahead as well. So there'll be pressure there. But no, this is a good little section that Merv will fancy, I'm sure. And I've been impressed with him. I like watching Merv. You know what he's like. He's sort of got to earn his respect moving into the game. Once you get to know him, he's a good guy. And I like watching his play. I like his little spin in action. I think he's good to watch, his expressions and stuff. And I hope he does well. And I hope he maintains that form. Kudos on him doing the work as well. I think it was printed in a newspaper, and it wasn't news for me. It was just fair play. Well done. I think everybody was impressed that he'd done that. And it's worked for him. And what works, you've got to do. And if he has to keep doing that, even if he reaches the top level, keep doing it. And fair play to him. I'm pleased for him.
Up next, Ian White against Mensur Suljovic. Two men looking for a result after the World Championships. One of them got a fair bit of stick in the media and on social media for his speed, shall we say. And Ian White, good performance at the Worlds, but yet again failing to win. Both players will fancy this one, Paul.
Yes, they will. I think it's an interesting draw, the way it's worked out for certain tussles against each other. We've talked about Cullen against Bunting. We talked about Merv against Durrant. And of course, we've talked about Smith and Lewis. And all of these games seem to have their own little backstory. Well, White obviously not having a successful Worlds again, Suljovic being in the headlines for the wrong reasons. You get the feeling that they just need a bit of redemption by winning a match and then having a crack at Aspinall, who seemed to work very, very hard at the Worlds, and nothing came easy for him. So he'll be eagerly waiting to see who he's going to play. But yeah, I think Suljovic for the first 6 months of this year is just going to have to ride a wave of social media tribal nature, because let's face it, social media doesn't forget little things like this, and it will carry on for a while. And Ian White is just going to plod on and do his thing. And I think that in this tournament previously, Ian White has shown great form, and he might have too much for Suljovic on this occasion, but I think they're very tightly packed on this one. For you, Mark, how far did Mensur jump over that line? Because there's nothing in the rules about slowing people down and it happens, but did he fall foul of that line? Well, yeah, he did, didn't he? He really did. But like I said, there's nothing in the rules. He hasn't broke the rules. He's just, in terms of sportsmanship, it wasn't great, was it? It was too much, and I didn't get it really. He's beaten Gary Anderson in a final before the Champions League of Darts, playing how he did. I didn't understand why he catered for Gary, and he shouldn't have done it. But done that. I don't think Mensur's going to care what people brandish him with, and if he has to adopt those tactics again, to a point, he will do. He does play slow. That was ridiculous, though. But he does play slow, and he'll do it again. And you just got to deal with it. And with regards to Ian White, another disappointing World Championship where he played well. I felt for him a little bit, but it's happened 3 years on the trot, hasn't it? And you can say a bit of unluckiness, but it's happened 3 years on the trot. So he's got so much ability, and that's another puzzler for me. I don't get how Ian White doesn't perform better on the big stage, because he's got such a good action again, and I don't know what it is. But yeah, interesting game. I fancy Ian to win, to be fair, but yeah, it'd be a close game.
Next up, it's Battle of the Miscants. It is the ferret, Johnny Clayton, against the special one, Jose de Souza. And this could be absolutely anything, guys. We could see 180s galore, huge averages, and plenty of 162s.
Yeah, I think this could be quite comical, especially when they've been out of the competitive game for about a month. They might forget a few finishes, but I love watching de Souza. I love him as a person even more. I had the privilege of having breakfast with him at the Winter Series, and I didn't know a great deal about him. I think he's a fabulous player. He's a great person, great inspirational person to be around. But show me a person that doesn't love Johnny Clayton as much as that as well. These are two of the nicest guys in the game. And of course you say that because you have banter with them because of the World Cup. But no, I think these are two great guys, and they could serve up a classic. But if there isn't a miscount in this one, I'll be absolutely flabbergasted.
Yeah, it's the brush they've both been labelled of, isn't it? And rightly so as well. They need to sharpen up their counter. But I agree with Paul. Both good guys. Both good to watch. It'll be a good game. I think I actually phoned Johnny Clayton when I was out with my dog, and I seen that he got in the Masters. He didn't have a clue, and so he's just pleased to be going there. And de Souza in the mix. I don't see any nerves on that stage. A close game again. Flip of a coin, really. I'm going to have to go for Johnny, aren't I? But yeah, it is a flip of a coin, real close game. And yeah, there'll be we talk about gamesmanship and mental, there'll be no gamesmanship in this one. Just get on with it.
Next up, battle of the young guns, so to speak. Chris Dobey against Dimitri Van den Berg. Two guys that career path have been quite similar, but Dimitri has taken that next step on winning one of these big ones. And is that the next step that Chris has to take, Paul? Winning one of these, converting these good TV performances into a win?
Yeah, I think that's very true. I think with Chris, we've almost had him on this pedestal of someone who is touted to win for quite a few years now. And there's never a guarantee that you are going to win. All you have to do is look at someone like Wayne Jones, who for me is the best player not to have won a PDC senior title. John Henderson hasn't won a PDC senior title. And there's no guarantee that you will get there. But if Chris can keep knocking on that door, I think it's only a matter of time. He always seems to run at MVG when he has the big opportunity. And he puts in a big performance against Michael, but it never seems to be enough. But it's a strange thing for Chris to be playing badly, in his words, and still averaging around 96. That's encouraging. I think you've got to try and turn the negatives into a positive. And this is a difficult game because, Dimitri didn't play poorly when he was eliminated at the Worlds. He played extremely well against Dave Chisnell. But I think the important thing for Dimmy is that he backed up the World Match Play win with good performances elsewhere, like the Slam, like the World Championship. And I think we can legitimately now start to talk about where does Dimitri's next title come from. The longer it is, the bigger the question mark will come. But as far as this match is concerned, you have to have Dimmy as the favourite. But if Chris can put in the work throughout the course of January and be ready for the Masters, then he can win this match.
For you, Mark, Dimitri booked in to have his operation on the knee after the Masters because the Premier League's being put back. Is that a help or a hindrance? Will he be thinking about the operation that's coming up, or will it be furthest from his mind?
No, I'm bothering. I think he needs to get it done. It's just something that's lingering. I think that the calendar's played into his hands, and get it done, get your rehab done, and I don't think it's going to hinder him. And I agree with Paul. It is when he gets another title, not if. He just looks the part on the big stage. And whilst I was impressed with Chris Dobey at the World, he lost to Daryl Gurney 4-1, and it was not an unfair scoreline in the sense. Just Daryl Gurney played brilliant, and Chris didn't do a lot wrong. I was impressed with Chris, but I've been more impressed with Dimitri over the last 6-7 months. And you start Dimitri favourite for this one, but expecting big things again from Dimitri, and hopefully Chris as well can get his form back on the floor, because I think he sort of released a social media thing. It was the worst time of his career in the Winter Series, but he kind of addressed that with a steady world. So different years, good years for both of them, I think, but Dimitri definitely challenging for big titles again.
Next up, a repeat from the World Championship. It is Krzysztof Ratajski against the Wizard, Simon Whitlock. And Simon, since that fortunate for him, failed COVID test that got him in to the World Grand Prix, has just run with this. And I'm looking forward to this because this was a good game at the Worlds. Ratajski was sensational, but the Wizard out for a bit of revenge.
I'd say he has to be thinking that way. Simon's got a very good memory, and looking at the way that the scoreline was posted all around the world, he will have been hurt by that. Now, Ratajski did play his best World Championship ever, and he bossed the match. He was always in control. But for me, Whitlock will not let that sit very quietly. He will want to get revenge as quickly as possible. And we all know what Simon's like. He will still think he's got a Premier League chance because he had some decent runs in 2020. And he'll think, and I'm not going to do his accent because that's very derogatory, even though I can't do it. He'll think, if I win this event, I can get in the Premier League. And he will think that he can win the tournament. The amount of self-belief that he has shown throughout the last 12 months is just unbelievable to me. It's something that I've never had. And I applaud the way that he constantly gets off the floor. And when he's given an opportunity, he takes it with both hands. He's just an incredible dart player, an incredible believer. And I'm not going to say that he can't do anything anymore. This could be a great game. I love the look of Ratajski versus Whitlock.
Mark, even though Simon's got to 2 World Finals, what we've seen over the last 6 months, is this the best version of the Wizard that we've seen?
I don't know about that, but I agree with Paul. To get off the canvas when you're just writing him off, credit to him, and then to beat a player that's been battering him every time he played him 3 times in succession, credit to him. He's mentally strong. He won't be going against Christoph Ratajski thinking he beat me a month ago and be worried. He didn't perform against Ratajski. He was poor, he'd admit that, but it's a flip of a coin. I think Whitlock can win. His first of 6 legs, he beat him in the World Cup. Whitlock will remember that rather than the World Championships. And he's headstrong, Simon, I think, because when he loses a game, he'll blame anything but himself. And while sometimes it can go too far, I think it's a good way of deflecting. Don't let the buck stop with you. He's always done that. He's been mentally strong. And expecting another steady year from Simon. Well, I say steady, he was brilliant this year. But I think he's stopped that drop now, and he's only going one way. And he's been a bit of a forgotten man, but I think Whitlock will beat Ratajski.
Then last up, Daryl Gurney against Jeffrey Desmond. And how good was it to see Super Chin back to his very best and some of the form that has won him those majors, because it's not been the best of years for him, but from the Worlds, he can take so much heart and spirit from his performances, Paul.
Yes, he can. I love the way that Daryl Gurney played during the World Championship. His doubles look great. And I have to say, and I said this during the TalkSport commentary with Chris Mason, is that if anybody needed a break between the Players' Championship finals and the Worlds, by the look of anybody on the planet, it was Daryl Gurney. For me, he looked like he'd played constantly for about a year, and he looked absolutely beaten up. So coming to the Worlds and looking fresh and looking sharp, he looked really, really good, especially against Chris Dobey, which Mark just mentioned. And I get the feeling that if he can just get that practice and competitive balance right and that adrenaline level right, I think with less rankings pressure on him in 2021, he could have a great year. He had that 100,000 hanging over his head all season because of winning the Players' Championship in 2018. And I just get the feeling now that with less to defend this year, he could actually rebound in a good direction. And let's face it, when we talked about the Premier League selection, it's in his hands because he's got Desvan, which is not the worst draw in the world. And if he gets through that, he's got Dave Chisnell. He beats Chisnell, for example, and you don't want to go, skipping games and thinking ahead, but he will think that his possibility of getting in the Premier League is in his hands because he can take out some of the other guys in contention. This is a really important tournament for Gurney, and he will be ready.
Mark, for you, obviously listening to some of his interviews afterwards, that Darryl was always a big practicer in the practice room. He'd be like 3.5, 4 hours on the board beforehand, but he said at the Worlds he cut it down to 2.5 hours, and he felt as if he had more energy on the stage. Is that something you learn as a player, how much practice you need before a game?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was more like I could just gauge how I was playing. If I was in there, you'd always turn up X amount before, but it's how much you practice. If they're going well, you don't really need to do much, but if you're struggling, maybe work into it. But no, I was impressed with Gurney. I don't think the Premier League's coming into his mind. I think he just wants to get back to basics, play well. And he's been in the Premier League 3 years on the spin now. I mean, obviously financially it's a great event to be in, but in terms of, I agree with Paul, he probably overdoes it at times. Darryl, he turned a Players' Champ when his other half was due. That's how committed he is to the tour with their son a few years ago. But I think he's in a position where he can manage his schedule, Darryl, and I think he beat the Swan. And I think he'll have a good year again. He was good at the World Championships. Impressed with him. He was so poor at the Players' Championship finals. And yeah, I think he'll have a good little run at the Masters.
Looking on to round 2, obviously Michael van Gerwen, one of our windmill players. Like you said, Paul, the world number 2 doesn't really stand right after saying it for the world number 1 for so long. But we're looking forward to seeing Michael back on the stage and the start of the quest to become world number 1 again. We'll play either De Souza or Clayton. Good potential opponents for MVG to ease his way into a tournament.
Yeah, someone who has got a lot of success in the Masters previously, and he likes to start the season with a bang. Now, he does like playing the Masters in Milton Keynes, we all know that, but he's had mixed results with Johnny Clayton, and he's had incredible battles with De Souza in the last 12 months. And just go back to when De Souza won that European Tour event. It was De Souza who owned MVG in that match, and Michael's got a very good memory. Whoever he gets, he knows that he's going to have to be sharp. He's already said on his social media that he's in the process of getting ready. I have no doubt that he will be ready. I think he'll want to lay down an early marker for 2021, but it's the sustained form that we want to see from MVG, from the dominant force, as to whether he can now challenge for that number 1 spot again and still fend off the other guys as well. Let's not forget about Peter Wright. You know, I think there's a lot of focus has gone on to Gerwyn Price and, of course, to Michael over the last few weeks, but we can't forget the world number 3, Peter Wright, because he still wants to be world number 1. It's still possible, of course. But it's going to be a difficult year for Michael, but I think he's salivating in the corner of his mouth, waiting to get ready, and De Souza and Clayton better watch out.
Mark, touching on what Paul said there, I don't want to look too far ahead in skip games, but it is a potential mouth-watering semi-final between Michael and Peter, and those games never disappoint, do they?
No, but we've learned now, you don't take for granted the sort of seeding brackets anymore. I mean, you wouldn't be at all surprised if we don't see that semi-final. It's I don't think Michael van Gerwen sort of penciling a game against Peter Wright. I think he's played all right the last few months. He lost against Whitlock in the Grand Slam where he should have won. He won the Players' Championship finals. He was battered by Chizzy, but yeah, he could have done a bit more to force the issue, but there's not a lot more he could have done. Chisholm was fantastic, so he's lost his number 1 spot, yeah, but it was going to happen at some point. He's been number 1 for so long, and I think he'll be okay. I think he'll be good again this year. Like he win more events, basically, is what I'm getting at. I think there'll be some TV events, but the floor events that were like little top-ups just to keep them going weren't happening, and I think that needs to happen more often. I think it's underestimating how important they are, and getting back to winning ways, I think Michael will be okay. The Masters, it's a good draw for him. De Souza or Johnny first round, I think he'd be okay with that, but be interesting to see how far he goes in the event.
The Masters has always been a tournament where we see players turning up with new bits of kit, whether it's a new barrel, a new stem and flight combination, a longer point here and there. Do we think players will have tinkered between the worlds in here, and are we expecting some new setups from players?
I don't think so. I think there's a lot of players who are very happy with their setup. And, you know, you look at someone like Joe Cullen, for instance, who before the Winter Series switched to Winmore, and what a switch it was. I mean, that final on day 5 of the Winter Series, he looked so confident with these new barrels, and they are quite incredible when you look at them. And they're going to be very popular with the fans. But I love this change for Joe. He doesn't have to worry about that now. He can just look forward and be very comfortable with what he's got. But maybe other players will tinker. You know, Whitlock, I don't think it's played with 2 consecutive games with the same stems. I don't think Peter Wright has ever thinking about not changing. So they're the usual protagonists in that field. But there are other people who like to keep things the same. Gurney hasn't changed much over the course of his career. He's tinkered with different colours in the barrel, but the likelihood is he'll stick with what he was using at the Worlds. And Michael, of course, I'm sure he will stick with what he's got because it was working until he got blitzed by Gisnell. But as far as anybody else is concerned, I'm not sure how Mark feels, but I think the majority of the field will probably not change at this point. But it is the right time to change if you are looking to do something.
Yeah, I don't see any sort of big changes, Peter Wright standard, but no, I don't see any. I mean, you sort of look to the players who've had a poor event, don't you? But that's the thing with the Masters. It's the top 24 in the world. They're all relatively in a good place, with the exception of a couple. But yeah, it's I don't see any massive changes. You touched on the Joe Cullen one, who's just switched to his darts. They're going great. Can't get hold of a set anywhere, but all accounts they've gone that well. But yeah, I expect to see pretty much similar setups from most players, really, because it's an important event, the Masters, and it's a tough event. So just to hit the ground running, and even more so, the Premier League carrot and not knowing what's next, it's the players have got to be focused and comfortable. So I don't see any big changes.
That time, gentlemen, I'm going to ask you for your finalists, and from that, who you think will win the 2021 Masters. We'll start with you, Paul. Finalists and a winner, please.
Thanks for that. I haven't thought about it because I didn't want to until this very point. So I knew you were going to put me on the spot. I think we will have an MVG final. I think he will make his way there. But I'm gonna cop out. I'm gonna say Price against MVG in the final. I think they'll both be ready, and I think Price will just be swimming with confidence. And I'm gonna go for the MVG win.
For you, Mark.
MVG against. I don't want to say Price. It's just a cop out, but how can you look beyond him, really? I'm trying to scan through the draw, what jumps out at me, and I don't want to be.
He wants to say Mervyn.
Yeah, go on. No, he's in the. MVG's in the same section as Merv. No, he wouldn't. No, MVG v Merv rematch from the Players' Championship.
Good shot.
Who wins that one then, Murray? We going for a repeat of the players?
I don't know where it's coming from. 11-10 to someone.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us on Winmore TV. As always, remember, everyone, keep your eye out on Winmore social platforms: Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We've got some great stuff coming. The 2021 launch was amazing. Products are now coming back into stock because they've gone that well. So keep that check. Gentlemen, thank you very much. And we will see you at the Masters, no doubt. Thank you very much, guys.
See you later.
Cheers, Baldy. Cheers.